Hello guys, welcome back to another trade recap. So one thing that I've been working on lately, I feel like I'm starting to get the process a lot more. Um, and I feel like there was like one thing that I wasn't really honing in on that was basically making me lose. And I'm gonna go through this trade recap and tell you what that thing was. I'm gonna go from top down, explaining my whole process. But before that, I started a new session. Um, and yeah, 2 wins in January. Not a lot of offering in January. I've done this month before. I don't remember the price action 100%. But I think the last time I did January 2024, it wasn't necessarily a good month for trading. And so I'm not that upset that I only have 2 trades. Plus, there really wasn't a lot of good setups to begin with, anyways. There wasn't really like, because you can see if a good trade ran away from you, but I didn't really see that. So realistically speaking, I didn't really see much until I just saw one Wednesday, saw one this Friday. Funnily enough, I took this on a Friday, so one more win to get that 6%. But in all honesty, if I can minimize my losses and have more wins, then I don't. It's not that bad to me, to be honest. But if this will load someday now. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they're doing maintenance or something. FX replay is like not really working as it's supposed to. Alright, so as my last trade recaps, what do I want to start with? I want to identify the order flow on the daily chart. I want to look at what phase of price we're in, and I want to identify our draw on liquidity, essentially, right? So coming into the day, I was definitely more so bullish. Now, why was I bullish? One, we have an SMT in place, because this candle never got to this low, but as you can see on ES, we took out this low. So we have a daily, I didn't even draw it out here. We have a daily SMT here. So that was one reason I was bullish. And two, recognizing that we are mostly moving to the upside, right? Technically we took this high, right? But this was such a bullish momentum, we didn't react off of it, meaning if you understand what a rejection candle looks like, which is a very long wick coming back down into the range, we didn't get that. And then not only that, ES looked like we could definitely see this high, and we had this high on ES right over here too. So that was why I was bullish, just because identifying that this was a retracement. We have a bullish SMT. We had available liquidity on ES to grab. But not only this high, we had this high as well. And the fact that we didn't reject off of this level aggressively made me believe that we were very bullish. And besides, we were very bullish anyways. And none of this area anyways suggests a reversal signature or a retracement signature. So lots of reasons to believe that coming into this day, which is a Friday, we were bullish. But quite frankly, I didn't register that this was a Friday, because ideally you wouldn't really expect a big move on a Friday, but we did get that here, which was really great, which is also why this move offered such a nice R&R, because it's a very expansive day. So with that being said, that is how I arrived at my bias. Then coming to the 4-hour, the first thing I'm going to do is mark out my 1800 candle and my 600 candle to identify how the daily candle is developing, right? So typically when you're on the 4-hour chart, you want to identify whether we've put in a low of day that we can trade away from. Typically that's like the best case scenario, but that's not going to always be the case, as in this case we didn't really have a very important or relevant low per se. Because what is a relevant low? A relevant low is basically a low that has a sweep or an SMT in place and a change in state of delivery to signify that low is protected, right? It's not so much on this day. As you can see, we did open low and then high, but this is not really a interesting low in terms of we don't have an SMT at the low. We can't even see if there's a change in state of delivery here on the 4 hour. Yeah, so we kind of just opened low and then kind of just went up. So yeah, not much to see on the 4 hour, but I did coming down into the 1 hour now. So we're gonna look again, like, is there anything that could potentially like hold us and as a protected low? I was looking at the fact that we had this order block here, or this retracement, and we traded above it. So typically this is should in a way hold us up. It's not really a significant low in that, again, we do not have an SMT here of any sort. We just traded above it. So yeah, so I guess not as relevant. So what else was I looking for? I was looking for an SMT. Funnily enough, there was no SMT put in here. But I'm still not bearish, right? Because we haven't tapped into any significant level, and we do not have an SMT at these highs here. One thing that I did like about how this trade developed is that we did come low first, right? This 9 o'clock candle came low first and then went back up. But other than that, not really much. I think I went down to the 30-minute at this point when we were coming down. So we didn't have a change in, you didn't have an SMT, which typically you want to have an SMT. But we did sweep out these lows here, so I did take note of that. Now, okay, so once we have the sweep, what else am I looking for? So I didn't want to dismiss the move just because we didn't have an SMT, although ideally you would like an SMT. So in a way, I kind of broke my rules because typically you want an SMT. But what is an SMT though, right? An SMT is basically a sweep. One asset sweeps, one asset doesn't. So technically I can't say this is not high quality just because we don't have an SMT. The fact that we swept out lows still makes it somewhat relevant. So this is, and if I dismissed it just because we didn't have SMT, the trade wouldn't have worked out. But ideal case scenario is that we want a sweep. Now, what else am I looking for? So after that, I recognized that we actually did have a C2 closure here on the 30-minute. We closed back within this candle's range. That's a C2 candle. And we sort of had it here, but I wasn't necessarily 100% convinced just yet. So I went down to the 15 and I tried to identify something else. So I recognize that we did trade back into this range. This is not really a C2 closure, but I did recognize that we did close above this candle, which would be a C3 closure, right? This would be a C3 closure, the fact that we close above here. So yeah, that in a way that was kind of enough for me to go down and then look to see if we had an opportunity, because on the 30-minute, again, we do have a C, no, not really, that's not really a C2 closure, but we had a C2 closure here. This is not really a C2 closure. But and then on ES again, we had a C3 closure because we closed above here. So this, on ES, we had the C2 and C3 closure. And then coming into NASDAQ, I guess in a way we did have the C3 closure because we closed above the body of this black candle here, right? This was trying to be a C2 closure, but it didn't quite fit the bill there. And yeah, so yeah, that was a C3 closure. So after that, I kind of just went down. I was like, all right, I think this is good enough, right? And then this candle closed around 9:45, and then coming into 10, you can see 10 o'clock, we had a deep retracement, right? Now, I'm trying to figure out, how did I align that so perfectly? I think it's because we had the C3 closure, right? So after we had the C3 closure at 9:45, I guess I just went down lower, and I was waiting for that change in state of delivery. But one thing I'm wondering is, why did I enter this so late? Because we had, oh, actually, no, yeah, I entered this late, quite frankly. Because this would be, oh, you know what? I don't think I entered this on the 3. Yeah, I entered it on the 5. Because the 3 was a little bit all over the place, and I wanted to condense the information that was being given to me. So I ended up taking this on the 5, actually, which you can see makes a little bit more sense, right? So we had this candle here. And this was roughly, I think, when we were making that that closure there on the 15, this one. I wonder if I can mark this out. This one right there, and then we go down to the 5, right? Yeah, so this is like roughly when we made that closure. So that's when I came down to the 5-minute, and then we made this opposing run. Because why did we make this opposing run? Because it's 10 o'clock. So we want to open low, and then go back up if we're going to be expanding. So I was waiting for a closure above this black candle. This is when we got it. That's where I entered. Stop at the lows. And then, yeah, I just entered the trade, and went to that TP there. In fact, I got full TP, 2.26. I didn't even do exactly 2R, 2.26, because that was the draw, and that's what it offered. So, yeah, this trade worked out really well. So, one of the biggest things that I'm trying to do more is really not take a trade unless I have a fractal model. Because that's one of the things that I realized that I wasn't doing correctly. I would get the direction right, but I wouldn't wait for a fractal model, because a fractal model can really save you from like deep retracements. Because if you don't get a fractal model and you think that it's gonna go up, it might come back and do a really deep retracement on you, and sometimes it can do that and then go in the direction. So that's why you want a fractal model. But the fractal model will also save you, because if it does come back in a deep retracement and then it just keeps going, it saves you, right? So that's kind of something that I'm trying to be more aware of. But yeah, so right now I would say I'm pretty decent at determining bias, and kind of cycling down from the weekly, daily, all the way down to the 3-minute. And I'm getting better at taking trades. Sometimes I'll take them on the 15 if it's cleaner. Sometimes I'll take them on the 5, like here. But I can also take them on the 3. I don't typically go lower than a 3. I could, but I don't really like to, because you can get really chopped up if you're not aware of what's going on the higher time frames, right? So I typically don't like to go lower than a 3. And yeah, that's basically it. I have been doing a couple sections. Again, this is just my biggest issue, like just being aware of that fractal model situation there. But yeah, I'm kind of happy with how my results are turning out in January here, and I'm just gonna continue doing this and see how it turns out. The one biggest frustrating thing for my trading progress, and for these last couple months, is really just, again, getting that 6+%. But one of the biggest things that I was recognizing in my last backtesting, I don't even know if I have them because they get me so mad that I end up deleting them, is just that I was having a lot of losses. And I was just, one thing I was frustrated about is that how do I filter out these losses? I was just taking so many losses. Like here, like so many, I was taking a trade I took a trade every single day of the month. And every single day. And it was just like, this doesn't make any sense. There's no reason I should be taking a trade every single day, right? Because that means because there are days that there is no trade, basically. But yet I'm forcing trades, I'm getting unnecessary losses, and I just didn't think it was really good. So now I'm able to filter out, high probable days from low probable days. Look, I've only taken 2 trades in January. And again, I've traded this month before, and I think in the past I recognize that I don't think January 2024 was a really good month for trading. So the fact that I only took 2 trades, but I'm already up 4% is like, that's a win in my book, you know what I mean? But I don't really have anything else to share. Slow progress is progress. I'm just gonna see if I can continue to do this and correct my mistakes. And hopefully within the next couple weeks to a month, I'll finally figure it out and I'll, get the results that I'm looking for. I'm a profitable backtesting trader generally, right? I can make that 3%, especially over time. It's really just making that 6% plus consistently over many, many months that I'm looking for. And once I can do that, I will know I have made it as a trader, or at least a backtesting trader, that I can then go and implement into the real market. And that's really all I'm trying to do here. With that being said, if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.